Good morning, Cathedral, and welcome to an all-new season of Views from the Hill. I'm your host, Seth Mincer. I have brand new co-hosts, seniors Jack Goheen and Drew Ditto.
How's it going, Seth?
Good morning.
Pleasure to be on here.
Good morning.
You guys excited?
I am.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the main event here. Brother Roberto. You all know him. New teacher here last year. Had a big impact on Cathedral. And we're here to just open up and talk to him and get to know him a little more. So I'm going to start off with asking about, do you have a morning routine, brother, that you follow?
Yes, I do. We get up in the morning, then we have prayer in the morning. After prayer, I usually get to Cathedral around 5:30. I continue the prayer here at Cathedral, the morning prayer, and then I just go either to the classroom or the new office that I have and just prepare for the day.
Are you a big coffee drinker, would you say?
Yes and no. I'd rather drink tea than coffee.
Oh, okay.
So
I like tea.
How do you take your tea?
just plain. The less sugar, the better.
That's true. So coming from a different school and, coming last year, during the COVID year, did you have to start, well, you obviously started on Zoom. Was it hard to get to know everyone?
Well, it was quite hard. The second semester more than the first, simply because at least in the first semester I was face to face
Right.
and with masks on. Second semester was hard to know last year's seniors because we started on online, so it was really quite different, and mainly because Brother Bob was supposed to live with me, but then he left, and I was by myself at house, so it was a bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah, being on the Zoom, I mean, kids are just hiding in the back. They're not even showing their faces, so I would imagine it's super hard to get to know the class.
It was simply, when you see the kids and you just show their forehead, you don't really know who they are or what they're doing.
Exactly.
So.
Well, I mean, I know you had nothing like Zoom growing up, so what was your school like growing up in comparison to Cathedral?
Very different. My high school, we had 52 students from 9th through 12th grade.
Wow.
So it was really a very small school. We had, in one building, we had 5th grade to 12th grade. So I grew up in a very rural part of Texas, and it was just one of those situations where there was nothing to do in town except go to school, play sports, and that's about it.
I understand you were a pretty respected tight end and D end at your school.
I won't push it. I wouldn't say I was so respected, but yeah, I played high school football for 4 years, and I was the football captain my senior year. But I wouldn't say that I was the greatest player at all. I was mediocre, I'll give you that.
Did you guys have a good winning record?
We did, actually. We were, if you think of Texas football, in Texas we have what we call districts. So if you win the district, you won like a state title almost. So my senior year, for the first time in the high school history, we won district for about 20 years. That was before it happened. So we had a very successful football program.
So how did you, growing up, know that you wanted to become a brother?
I did. Growing up, I never thought of a brother, really. That happened when my senior year of college. I was working on my thesis, and one of the brothers was helping me with the thesis when I was working at UT, Austin. So out of nowhere, I asked him, so what do you people do here? So he explained to me what a brother was. So I said, oh, okay, so I want to move in. He said, well, you can. You have to go through a lot of testing, psychological testing and all the nonsense that comes with it. So that evening, I went home and I told my fiance that I was going to be a brother. So we laughed it off and we let it go. Simply because I was 6 months from getting married. So the next month when I went to see Brother Romard, and he said, this is what needs to happen. So I went home and I told Diana, that's my girlfriend, and I said, I think I want to be a brother. So we cried, and it was really, because now we were 5 months from the wedding. And she said, I want you to try it because they'll kick you out the first day anyway. So give it a try and see how it goes. And 35 years later, I'm still here. So that's, but it was never an inkling from me when I was a kid, saying, no, I'm going to be a religious. It never, that just happened all of a sudden, my senior year of college. So.
Do you still stay in touch with her?
I do, as a matter of fact. She calls me, I don't call her. Because the sad part is that she married my best friend in college. So it was really hard for the relationship to continue. So just for the better of their relationship, she calls me when she needs to talk to me. So we usually talk about twice a year. Even up to this day, 30 years later, we still talk twice a year. And it's about an hour and a half conversation that we have, just reminiscing. And one of the sad parts, I guess you can say, is that she named her first kid after me. So there's a lot of problems with that. Just imagine. So,
I bet your best friend was happy with that one.
I guess he got over it.
Brother Berto, what brought you to Cathedral? How did you get to this side of town?
To this side of town.
He's been all around the world, Drew. Come on now.
You've been everywhere.
I was sent here by my provincial. It wasn't a choice that I had really. He asked me to come and be here. So I was in South Bend before here. So the way he works, provincial, not mandates, but in a way he does, tells you we need somebody to go to Cathedral. So I think you'll be a good candidate for that. So that's how I got here.
Yeah. How do you think you've been able to intertwine yourself already with the Cathedral? There's such a deep tradition here. And I feel like you've already become a part of it in only a year. And last year was COVID. We were mostly online, and you were still able to build relationships with kids. How do you think you're able to do that?
Simply because I think the students themselves really are a joy to be with, and more so the class of 2022, because those are the ones that I really spend most of my time with. They're really, like I always tell my friends, Cathedral is different in the sense that students thank you for being in the classroom with them. My 30 years of teaching, that has never happened.
Yeah.
So it's just that relationship that is there is not so much me, it's just the students themselves really make the difference. And because the culture at Cathedral is such a very friendly and open to whatever's going on. I think that makes a difference. And to me, it's simply because I like sports. So I went to almost every sports activity that we had, with the exception of golf. But I've been to every one of the other team events.
Yeah, you think you've got to be able to know kids because they've all seen you there. They start to kind of trust you.
I think so. I think slowly is beginning to build, and I think I'm more biased for the fact that, especially with people in my class, that I tend to really overcompensate with them, and it's just the way you build a relationship by just listening to kids. And I guess I'm not a judgmental person, so I really just love being there and listening to whatever they go through.
Yes. So I didn't have you at all in your first year, and I just heard from Jack and Michael and Mikey how much of an impact you had on them. So I was like, I got to get this guy as a teacher. And I mean, you've already in 3 weeks of school. I feel like I've known you for 5 years. And it's incredible, honestly.
Well, thank you. I don't know what to tell you about.
I don't know if it's just because you give me free candy, but
Yeah, I'm trying to tell all my friends, everyone I know, to join your class. I mean, joining having your class during the school day, it almost uplifts the day. I mean, you come in there and you just have a warm, welcoming teacher, and it just feels good.
Thank you. I think I try to do my best to be embracing to everyone, so that we can have fun. I think, especially in religion. Religion is the type of class that you build relationships. I think people are more tuned into the relationship between God and themselves than for me to be teaching you so many facts that you're going to forget. But yet, when you build that relationship between you and God, it stays with you after you leave cathedral. And that's one of my main goals, for people to really understand that. And of course, I have to teach some subject matters, but most importantly, it's just a relationship.
And I think the way you teach especially is why kids like the class, because it's not just a lecture for an hour. You'll take breaks in between and do fun activities to keep the mind warm and make them like the subject.
Yeah, I think, being a brother, I wouldn't know, but is there any time that you were like, I'm not sure that I want to be a brother?
Well, many times. It's just not, especially when I see like kids like you guys, and I always ask myself, what if? What if I would have had a kid? What would have happened? And I think I would be one of two things. Either I'll be a very strict parent in terms of, because I want kids to do education really well, or I'll spoil them to death. There'll be no in between. It's just one of those things that I really miss the fact that I would have a little Roberto walking around.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I miss. Although I have a very good friend of mine, I call him my son, from New Orleans, that I've known him for 30 years. So it's just that relationship that I built with him. That's like my son in a sense, and it's just one of those things that makes you happy, that gives you life, and it's really hard to explain, I suppose, because not having kids is just something that people don't think about. I mean, you always think of marriage, and like we were talking before, I always thought, so what if I would have gotten married to Liam? What would have happened? What would my life be? So there's that aspect of religious life that sometimes, especially we asked about last year in terms of COVID, when I was at the house, I live in a 6-bedroom home by myself. And it was just during Christmas, it was lonely because there was no one I could see or talk to. One, I was new in the city. There was nobody here that I knew. And I couldn't go to South Bend with the brothers because of COVID. I was going to go to Chicago with my sister, but she and her family had COVID, so I couldn't go anywhere. So it was really a lonely Christmas. So that part really sometimes gets hard.
I understand the new priest that's coming in the cathedral will be moving into your house. Has he gotten here yet, or?
He's here. He came on August 2nd, but unfortunately he got sick. And we don't know where he got COVID, whether it was in India or Mexico or somewhere. So right now he lives in the basement of the house. I usually don't let him out.
Food and water.
Simply because I was afraid to, not so much for me getting COVID, but bringing COVID to school. And I said, if I get COVID, I bring it to the football players, I'll be the most hated person in the cathedral. so that's why I was really, I was very cautious, and I told them, when I'm home, you have to wear a mask. And that's non-negotiable, simply because the process that we have to go through. But no, he's getting a lot better. Hopefully he'll be here next week or the week after.
Awesome.
Going back to football, how's freshman football going?
Freshman football is really wonderful. I'm learning more than the kids are. Keep in mind that I haven't coached in 25 years. So learning a new system, especially the system that Cathedral has, is very complicated, and at least for me. So I need to learn the whole process of how the plays are run and everything else. But in itself, the kids are really good. I mean, we have a few prima donnas, but I think we're working with them. So
Yeah, I've heard some funny stories about some of those players. Some of them even threatened to go on strike because of the running.
yep, but
It's football.
they'll understand what Cathedral football's about.
Exactly.
So is there anything that you want to say to, I know you're always preaching to people about if they want to take the right way into God, the way you can get a scholarship, through the Holy Cross Brothers, if I'm right.
Oh, there's a scholarship that St. Edward's University offers. It's called the Morrow Scholarship. That's offered to every senior at Cathedral, and one of the seniors will be chosen and they get a free ride at St. Ed's. So that's one of the things that,
Is that where you went?
yeah, that's
Okay.
my alma mater.
And where's that located? Texas?
Austin, Texas.
Texas. Awesome.
That's why you're steaming hot.
Well, it's just like here, except there's 300 days a year.
Thank you, brother, for joining on the first episode of this year's new season of Views from the Hill.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm flattered that you guys chose me to be the first one, so thank you, and good luck with the new process that you guys are beginning.
Thank you. Thank
Thank you,
you.
brother.
Yeah, we're
Thank you.
doing our best.
I'm Seth Menser, Jack Goheen, Drew Ditto. You can follow us on Instagram at VFTH Podcast and on YouTube, subscribe at CHS Live. Peace.